Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Jen.
It's funny. I say that on the telephone to people, and they're like, Jane. How's it going?
Good. Yeah. Happy Monday as usual. Monday, 10 a.m. This is funny. It's because it's the time after the weekend where, most agents are working on all their administrative stuff and putting together. They're trying to catch up from the busy weekend. And we've chosen this time to do the show.
Well, we have my assistant, Kayla Souza, joining us. Hi, Kayla. Kayla was on a realtor training with me this morning. So if we have 4 more days of training this week. So getting people into, here she is. Hello.
Hi.
Getting people. Go ahead.
Well, I know you're doing this other side hustle of training this is for realtors specifically, and as you mentioned earlier, it could also apply to mortgage brokers or other professionals. If someone wasn't yet registered, do you think it's too late? Should they still consider registering for your show? For your program?
Sure. You know what? Let me put it in if people want to. So it's $100 for the week.
Prorated. There's already 1 day left, so I'm just negotiating for you. Oh, she's good. Okay, sorry.
Today we did our vision boards, but tomorrow we're going to be doing business planning. So it's probably, you can go back and do your vision. The business planning, I think, is key to implementing your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't know where you want it. I have done it. It's due. These are things you should revisit. I've done vision boards and I've done business plans, but it's overdue. Yeah.
And how was your week last week in real estate?
Yeah, good week. It listed a new property. I had another property relist. Had an offer come in on a property, didn't come together, unfortunately. Yeah, and it's been steady, but not as busy. It's this time of year for me is usually a little slower. And this season, this business in general is a harder time. It feels like to get people to really feel motivated. So, for example, I was showing property yesterday, and the client was reporting how, hearing from everyone, it's best to wait and let's see what happens in the spring. I don't necessarily disagree. At the same time, I really stress the fact that once this market shifts, which all markets do, there will be no selection. We'll be back to, having to really fight and put in conditions that are not in your favor, terms and stuff that the seller wants rather than the buyer. So while we're in a buyer's market, it's a great time to find the best property.
So I always say to people, I've bought every time during November, December, because everybody who's on the market right now is highly motivated to sell. And I have clients coming in looking for up to $2 million property. And they were like, we're going to wait. And I'm looking at list to sale ratios. It's good time to buy right now, guys. Mm-hmm. Because as I said, people are motivated. You're more likely to get a good deal. But anyway,
I've been watching the hot sheets and seeing, what are properties selling for and versus their asking price and how long have they been sitting on market, and definitely seeing a lot that are just selling right at asking price, but then seeing some really surprising negotiations where there's been, in some cases, $100,000 off the asking price.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time to negotiate.
So today we're going to be talking about what's going on with the market. I'm actually going to bring our guest in now. It's Jennifer Lowe. She's with the Modern Mortgage Group with Dominion Lending. Here she comes. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Jen.
Hello.
We have other business to attend to, though.
Yes, we're just gonna talk about the market in general because I want her to hear what we have to say. She could hear us from behind the scenes, but she being a mortgage broker, you're kind of on the road as well as us. Everybody's we work together closely. We have very candid conversations with you. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say. So Andrew, let's start us off though, you and I. Go ahead.
No. One thing we have to start with, very important. We announced this.
Oh, I have it at the end.
You have it at the end. We're announcing at the end, are we? Okay.
You want to do it now?
We have our contest, yeah. I thought we
Okay.
said we were going to do it right at 10 a.m. So
Okay, go ahead.
let's just do this. Sorry, Jen. But yes, we're giving away 2 tickets to Butchart Gardens last week. Jane did. This week I will. Our winner will. I'll arrange to get them picked up. I did. Now choosing from. Well, let's just do this. Hang on a sec. Thanks everyone who entered the contest for 2 tickets to Butchart Gardens. We're going to do our second draw today. We had 124 comments, 122 shares, 150 likes on my page for this. So there's a lot of people who are hoping to win. So let's select this by, I'm going to do something a little random. We're going to see how this works. I'm going to use my Doctor Who Yahtzee game. I've taken out 5 of the dice. There's 1 dice in here. We're going to shake it. Good times. Jane's going to be laughing at me. And we're going to go, okay, up and down 6 times. I'm going to flick through this list. Down once, up once, down once, up once, down once, 6 times. Okay, now each time we're going to also, actually let's not complicate this because I've already had some trouble. Okay, so we're going to go to this list and I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to just do small little flicks. 1, down, 1, up. 1 up.
Oh, Nydia participated through
I've
Instagram.
already lost count. I think we're on to 6. Tammy.
Uh-oh.
Tammy, you are the winner.
Tammy.
Congratulations. Yeah, so that's, pull that out of the stream. That was Tammy Acoyne McMillan. We'll tag you in the comments. And it looks like Tammy's bringing her friend Leanne. I can't even read my own writing. Cuvalier, I think it is.
That's
Okay.
exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. So Tammy will reach out to you and get those tickets to you, make arrangements for you to pick those up or get them to you. So congratulations. Thanks so much for everyone who entered.
Okay, well, so we should put in that we are doing the draw through Facebook next time. Because
What do
some
you mean?
people participated on Instagram. So anyway, that's okay. That's okay. And just a note, I noted that there were 124 likes and 122 shares. So share was one of the criteria. So Thank you, Andrew. All right. And by the way, I went. It was really fabulous. Okay, go ahead, Andrew. Start us off.
Okay, so today is Monday, December 12th, and we have so far this month to date 138 unconditional sales compared to the full month of December in 2021. That was 438. So I'd say we're on point. We're not going to see a lot of sales towards the end of the month. Actually, we're not on point. We're low. New listings 204, 399 by end of month in December 2021. Again, we're probably not going to see that number, reach that number this month. Active listings, wow. In December 2021, there were 652 active listings. It's tiny, that's nothing. But we have 1,975 currently. Jane, you want to talk about not last week, I guess, last Thursday somehow.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's what we had in the PowerPoint. So it's interesting to me to look at the month to month, actually. So that was for the full month of November. We had 384 net unconditional sales. So we're at about a third of that. Not bad. Mm-hmm. And new listings, we had 785 in November. It is definitely going to go down. Again, anybody who's listing right now is motivated and likely you could get a closing before Christmas. You have 12 days. And then active listings, 2,111 in November. And then we're down to 1975. There are some people who are doing exclusive listings, so that's where they're not showing up on MLS. and ask your realtor. We do have that happening, and they'll be coming on the market probably in January.
We sometimes see posts in some of our Facebook groups. There is a new rule coming up from the Canadian Real Estate Association that's
3 days
requiring you can only market sort of 3 days before you're on MLS. They don't want to see people marketing properties up their sleeve, you might say. Jen, did you have any comments on anything you've just seen here?
The amount of active listings versus like year over year. Like I look back to what my December 2021, how busy it was for a December versus what it is now. I mean, the market has really, really slowed.
Yeah. And ironically, so many less listings actually on the market, but more selling.
Yeah.
And Jen, you alluded to those off-market listings. We just had, I had a client, there was a property came up for sale. My client reached out pretty quickly to say, can we go see this property? Showing request. I didn't hear anything back. And then turned out that that property was already showing as pending. And what had happened was that property had been for sale before, come off market. And then somebody had approached those folks when it was off market, negotiated a contract on it, and those realtors decided to put it up on MLS for the record, you might say, but it was really already gone. And that happens every once in a while. It's a little frustrating as buyers look at these things as if they were actually available, but it was not available from the moment it hit before it hit the MLS.
So technically, if you're selling and it's due to MLS, so they would have seen the listing on MLS previously, then you can report it, but you're not supposed to.
It's a gray area. Yeah.
Okay, month to date. So 148 new listings over the past week. 39 new listings over the past week. That's compared to 148 last month. And so that's the last 7 calendar days. Pending is 22 compared to 100 last week. And price decreases are at 18 compared to 85 last week. So just overall, we're seeing the market just settling down. I got teased last week because I said, I sold my last listing of the year. And everyone's like, there's 3 weeks left. But my goal in December is always half that what it is in the other months. So
Right. It's interesting looking at these graphs, and the right-hand graph where there were 39 new listings, that green line is so large. And then you look at the left side with the new listings, 148 is this tiny little bar. So the scale on these is always, I guess, a little interesting as well.
Jane, what
and
you said,
sorry,
Jane.
No, you go ahead.
What you said there, I totally agree with. Finding a lawyer that's open between Christmas and New Year's is really challenging. So for my clients too, if we're looking at dates, we're looking either at no later than December 23rd, or then we're looking after January 3rd.
Yeah. And I do have people who say they buy at the end of November and they say they want to move in before Christmas. And then when it actually comes to the reality, they're like, I'm so glad I waited because there's so much else going on.
Yep. Yeah. And it's hard to find anybody to pay attention to what your needs are. So movers, all those different suppliers and contractors you're going to need that are involved in a move, including, as Jen alluded to, the lawyers. And people's eyes just are not the same on the prize, but definitely between Christmas and New Year's, not a good time to try to put things together. And also just weather, you never know what's going to happen. That's kind of the most, it's dark and it could be wet and you could have a snowstorm or an ice storm or something, and just better to wait.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty. So we had another interest rate, 7 of 8 announcements over the past calendar year have been interest rate hikes. How many people do you think got variable rates that are being affected by this? And why did I not log in for closed, Jen?
Well, we're hindsight's 2020, right? I mean, if we had a crystal ball, we all would have locked in. But then once rates start coming down, we'll all wish that we didn't lock in.
Yeah.
It is a cycle.
Yeah.
Myself, I mean, rates have gone up 4% since March.
Wow.
Unheard of. It's never happened before in the history that, is available for interest rates. Our federal government, the inflation is the biggest problem, and they're jacking rates up to try and curb that.
Right. So the reasonings they have are here. Inflation around the world remains high. So that's just the general cost of living has gone up. But they are finding that the global economic growth is slowing, although they're saying it's more resilient than previously thought, and that the U.S. economy is weakening, but they're finding that consumption is continuing and employment is overheated. And I didn't understand that, but when I look at what's happening in Canada, what they're saying is that we have a very low unemployment rate right now.
Yeah.
And one of the things somebody said to me was, once the supply chain, the bottleneck eases, that things start flowing again, then that's another thing that may start the economy up again, right? Because I think we consumed 2 years worth of goods in the first year of COVID.
That's an interesting statistic. Yeah.
I think people are really consuming a lot, and I think they consume different things when they're in a situation where they're, for example, staying in place at home due to COVID or what have you. But there was a lot of change in real estate, and there's just so much active change, and yet so much forced. People just forced to stay at home. We changed the way we purchase. Even I think a lot of people started buying online, and that put a lot more pressure on that online system as well, and also just opened up people to a lot more availability for purchase than maybe they've been aware of before.
And saving money. Yeah. I mean, there's such a direct connection with inflation and the unemployment. So unemployment's going down. So people are still spending money. People are still working and they're spending money. So inflation is our biggest problem.
One of the things Benjamin Tall said was one of the reasons why employment has changed so much is because people were let go of low skill jobs, and then during COVID they were upping their skill, or they were kind of told you're going to be unemployed and for the foreseeable future. So they went and retrained themselves. So places like the airline industry and like baggage handlers and taxi drivers and servers and all that stuff, when they went back and said, okay, the job's open again, they're like, we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. Anyway, so looking ahead, the Governing Council of Canada, the Bank of Canada, said they will be considering whether a policy rate interest needs to rise further to bring supply and demand back into balance and return inflation to the target rate. It's 2%, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering, what do you hear in the banking industry?
That there's given that the Bank of Canada increased the rate by 0.5%, that hopefully there's going to be a bit of a stall now for interest rate hikes. Going into 2024, rates are expected to come down. What the biggest thing as well is the Canadian yield curve is inverted, which the turning that into plain English is that we have a recession coming.
Yeah.
And if a recession is coming, rates are going to come down.
That being said, it sounds like Bank of Canada has really been, they're not afraid to bring us into recession. They'd rather have recession than inflation. So that's why they've been so aggressive with this. They're willing to err on the side of recession as opposed to continued inflation. And so until they actually, I guess, see that and have, clearly we're in a recession, I guess at that point is when they'll start to change their policies around percentage rates. But until then, they've been trying to shock the system into slowing down.
Yes. Well, and actually, the cost of fighting inflation is a recession at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen with interest rates then? Do you think they're going to stay the same, or do you think they're going to go down?
I think they're going to stall now because there was a lot of debate whether or not rates were going to go up 0.5 percentage point or 1/4 percentage point. Given they raised it 0.5 percentage point, the thought is that rates are going to stall now and then eventually come down. Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jen.
I hesitate, honestly, though, because I can't believe that rates have gone up 4% since March. Like, I just don't. It blows my mind. It's horrible.
Mm-hmm. It is. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people like before this last rise in interest rates, my mortgage has gone up $1,000 a month. And so I've got to think about, how this is affecting everyone out there, and people with credit cards and so on, or lines of credit or what have you, maybe living off of those for a little while they try to buffer this and hoping to bridge the gap. But other folks, it depends on how you are. People will definitely have to tighten their belts and choose other means in order to sort of keep things even keel, unless you've got a huge buffer already in the bank. A lot of people in Victoria already, there's a huge percentage of people, not huge, but larger than I think elsewhere, that already own their homes outright. But there's definitely this increased interest is going to be affecting a lot of people. And I just feel like we'll start to see the results in the spring of people who the strain will finally start to show. Because for now, I think people are able to shoulder this for the short term. But once it's been month after month after month after month, especially with interest rates increasing, that's going to be where people are going to start saying, well, I think I better sell my recreational vehicle. I better sell my expensive car. I better sell my investment properties or my recreational properties. If this continues, that's what I kind of would expect to see. But greater minds than mine have thought long and hard about this. And
question: do you guys, are you seeing more inquiries about people selling rental properties?
Yeah. And the reason is because now the cash flow isn't the same, because they were previously, that interest rate differential and the differential between the amount of money they had to pay out versus the amount of money they were getting in. So it's causing a squeeze. So for instance, if you have a long-term tenant in and they are in a fixed rate, then when you sell, if the buyer is moving in, that's a great thing, because they can then they don't have to worry about that. But people are looking at the return of an investment, the ROI, and the cap rate, and it doesn't make sense with sorry, I've been up since 6. It doesn't make sense, essentially, financially.
Yeah, it's a challenge because, as the interest rates go up and you have an investment property, not only are you now having to support whereas you were pulling in a little money every month, now you might be having to support it. So you're adding yet further to your load, but also the value of an investment is really based on how much income it can produce. And so with the higher interest rates, it's not able to produce the same amount of income when you consider mortgage. And so the value of it actually goes down just as a result.
Also, because the money was free over the last few years, essentially, people were drawing on their lines of credit, or they were, taking out loans for other reasons. And so now they have more debt on those houses.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you think about if interest rates were, let's say, 10%, for example, and you were looking for an investment property, you'd have to get better than 10% return on your investment to buy that investment property. Why not just put it in the bank otherwise? And that's what's happening with this higher interest rates as well. People are looking at what they can do with their money and looking at how much rents are versus how much they're going to have to pay. It's just not the same. Doesn't make the same argument for buying an investment property.
so also, so I'm part of a forum. We were talking about real estate across Canada, and this guy was saying, he's a newer realtor, and he's asking, what should I advise my clients? Should I tell them to wait to buy, or should they buy now? And I'm like, if you like the house, just buy the freaking house, because that house may not come up again, and you can change the rate at a different time. Maybe in a year or two, if you get a variable rate right now, at least
that is my recommendation, actually, is to still go variable, because going like with a short-term rate, the short-term rates are higher than the 5-year fixed rates. And with the outlook that rates will eventually be coming down, let's say end of 2023 into 2024, short-term pain with the variable, but then you're going to get the benefit once rates start coming down.
So that's interesting to me, because that says to me that the bank is betting that the rate is going to go down.
They know what's happening. We don't. They do. Yeah. And that tells me that, yes, rates are coming down.
What would you anticipate? I mean, obviously, you see, we've already said we don't have a crystal ball, folks, and we can't really, and don't rely on this other than this is just information that we're bandying about. But when you say they're looking like they might come down in 2024, are we talking about back to levels we've previously seen, or what are we talking about? Thank you.
Yeah, they're definitely saying we will never see the 1.45% rates that we had. There was rates down to 0.99. It was unreal, right? For a little while there, it was amazing. But we're not going to ever see that again in a long time. Never say never. But I've been a broker now for over 10 years, and what was always in my mind considered a great fixed rate was under 3%.
Right.
2.99 was always like, wow, like that's a great rate.
When the variable was at 0.5% or whatever, what was the fixed rate at that point?
I think it was, I think it might have been like 2.24, like right around that point. Yeah. Because there was a big enough spread that, like, of course, you want to go variable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It goes back to that inverted yield curve, right? We've got a situation now that with where fixed and variable rates are, apparently we haven't seen such a steep yield curve since the 1990s. So
Kayla was a smarty pants. She locked in at 2.19 with cashback mortgage in 2021. Interested to know what the rate will be. Well, that's the other thing. So a lot of people are wondering about that. What will the interest rate be when they go to refinance? And so, during a mentoring session the other day, I was saying we always get our clients to requalify if they want to sell and buy again, because if you just renew your mortgage, it will go up, but you don't necessarily have to requalify. If you sell your home and buy, you do have to requalify. So you really want to make sure you do that before you sell your home.
And part of the initial conversation too, when we're looking at all the different scenarios, we're looking at, the possibility of porting your mortgage. What would the penalty be? I'm always asking clients to find out what your penalty would be. Kayla there mentioned a cashback. So depending on what the lender is or who the lender is, sometimes you're required to pay that full cashback even if your completion date is 1 day before your maturity date. So those are really important things and questions to ask your current lender too.
So, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I was going to say, so you said, one thing for people to note, I think what you were referring to when you said you don't have to requalify when you renew, you don't have to requalify. But if you want to find a different lender, you may, for the same home, you still would have to requalify. So it's just renewing with that same lender, which means you may not get the same rates or benefits because you're going to have to take what they're offering. But at the same time, you get the benefit of, if interest rates are crazy, you may not have to requalify.
And I just want to say, I get asked a lot of questions right now about foreclosures, and foreclosures take a long time, folks, because first of all, the person has to become delinquent in their payments. Then the bank will follow up, and then they'll be like, come on, let's do this. Come on. And the bank doesn't want to go into the foreclosure process. Then when they finally do, it takes months to get to the court. You have an order nisi, and then they find a realtor, and then they list the property, and then it is a waiting game while the market waits for that house price to drop. So,
and then it also needs to go to court approval when there is an offer. And so it's quite a long arc between when you miss your first payment and move into the point where you're going to be foreclosed on. But if you're looking like you're going to be moving in that direction, you should definitely get some legal advice, accountant's advice. I remember meeting years ago with this really nice couple who were really struggling with making their payments and had already missed one or two, I think. And they were trying to pay what they could on their mortgage, but they just knew that they were never, ever going to be able to make it. And I said, you guys need to talk, get some professional advice, but it sounds like you should just stop paying your mortgage because you're going to be foreclosed on anyway. And you'll have some months yet before they're going to move you out. So get some advice, but if you continue to pay, it's money you're never going to see again anyway.
And actually, you don't have to move out. You'll just become a tenant of your own property. Until
the new owners take possession.
Yeah, which is awful. It's
it's a horrible situation. And definitely anyone who's contemplating that or thinking that they may have to contemplate that should, reach out to your lender and try to create a solution. And Jen, I'm sure you have some comment on this, because sometimes you can actually negotiate a different scenario so that you can stay in the home.
If your mortgage is insured, so if you put less than 20% down and your mortgage is insured with CMHC, for example, they do have a payment relief program if you're in financial stress.
Difficulty, yeah. But that being said, if you do debt consolidation, I've had some clients do that recently. And so then you won't qualify to purchase for a long time. Like how many, is it like 3 years?
5 at least.
5.
It's looked at very similar to going bankrupt.
Yeah. Don't do it if you can't. And this is, all stuff we learn as we go along, and people regret it. So they see all their student loans, they do debt consolidation, then they'll never buy a house because it'll be a long time before they earn the money.
They have to be clear on their plans, but you lose out on the opportunities that could come up within those 5 years if you do that debt consolidation, for sure.
Okay. So thank you, Jen, for coming up. We really enjoyed having you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let me just get how do people get in touch with you?
My number is 250-217-4925. Email is j.lowe@dominionlending.ca, or my website there at jenlowe.ca.
Nice.
Okay.
Thanks again for coming on, Jen. It's always a pleasure and always helpful.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Okay. Andrew, how do people reach you?
To reach me, you can call me at 250-360-6106. Email info@andrewplank.com. The website, andrewplank.com, has lots of useful info. And I'm on Instagram under Plank Andrew.
All right. And you can reach me. My name is Jane Johnston. My number is 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. you can see my website, which we are revamping at briarhillgroup.com. Or if you want to watch these and other videos on neighborhoods at vancouverislandtime.com, please visit those. And I'm on Instagram for lots of fun and interesting information at realtyteacher_remax_Victoria and Vancouver Island Luxury Living. And I just want to say, don't forget, we are on every Monday morning at 10 a.m. So please subscribe. And if you have questions or anything that you want answered, please send us a message to either Andrew or myself, and let's get that topic. Also, if you want to be a guest, let us know. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.